Hey, what's happening, family? It's your man Mark Black. You know what time it is. Welcome to the special Super Wednesday edition of the broadcast here. Let me get my mic in the right place. I'm so excited to talk to you. I didn't even have everything all set up. It's been a minute, and I'm glad to be back, healthy, well, relatively anyway. We'll talk about it one day, and ready to chop. Fam, what what a difference a week makes, right, in this space. And we got a lot to discuss today. Before we get started, fam, as per usual, make sure that you hit the thumbs, hater or like, doesn't make me any, never mind, right? Express your opinion. This is your house too. I'm sharing it. So make sure to let me know if this is content you want to see. Let YouTube know this is content you want to see, right? If you haven't already, join us. Become an angry black sheep. We need as many as we can, especially in these days and times, right? Thinking black folk is a rare resource, and we like to husband that resource here, foster its growth, and see it prosper, right? And so make sure you do that. Also, to check out the links in the description field below, right? There's links to different resources and things like that for you. Also, if you find my work worthy anytime during the chat, by the way, thank you, Mate and Dade, already starting off with the $12 via the super chat. I was just going to mention that. If you find my work worthy, if you think it's salient, it provides you with something, don't hesitate to support. I understand my audience, so there's no browbeating, there's no pressure, but I do have a powerful, need to eat sometime this month, and you can help me do that, right? And I appreciate you regardless. All right. So let me go ahead and shout everybody out who's currently in the chat. By the way, fam, the rule is that if you're in the chat or if you're here watching, you don't have to participate in the chat, but pop your name in there and let me know you're here so I can shout you out and show you some love. I want to give an extra special shout out today, though, to Darker Visions Media. DVM is a steady, constant support for me and my work. Always faithful, never flagging. I can't say thank you enough, Darker Visions. I really appreciate you, fam. And I just want to give you an extra special shout out. Also, I want to shout out Maiden Dade. What's good, fam? Engaging blacks in the house, unapologetically black. I'm ready too. Let's get it, right? Knocker Ball is in the house. Brother LaShawn, my esteemed brother, peace to you, fam. My beloved sister Alexis is in the house. Welcome to the broadcast. On Code is in the house. Peace, fam. Black man, what it do? Clarence is in the house. I see you, fam. Welcome to the broadcast. Cool Unk. Game recognized game. What's good, Cool Unk? I see you, fam. Welcome to the broadcast. Beloved sister Alma's in the house. Brother Rob is in the house. Welcome to the broadcast, fam. I appreciate and love all of you. Evron McKay is in the house. That's a new name. Welcome to the broadcast. Glad to have you. All right, fam. So we got to do some talking. Super Tuesday, god damn, right? Like, who would have thought? Well, actually, let me rephrase that. There's quite a few who would have thought, right? But for very many folk, it was absolutely surprising what happened yesterday. DJ Blue, by the way, is in the house. Welcome, fam, to the broadcast. A happy hump day to you. Fam, yesterday, as per usual, black people delivered the bomb, right? Sister Alma says she's still shocked, right? I totally get that. But we're going to discuss today, sister, why you should not have been, right? Because there's some analysis that when you look at what happened yesterday makes perfect sense, right? Yeah, Alexa said that the media said it was historic what happened yesterday. I couldn't agree more, right? I couldn't agree more, right? And there's a lot of people that looked at what happened yesterday and they are despondent, right? They are upset, frustrated, right? There's been sighs and wails and moaning and gnashing of teeth, some of which actually is richly deserved, to be quite honest. I mean, yesterday, the taking down of the edifice known as the Bernie Bros / Bros, right, Fam, you couldn't have paid me to enjoy it less. I'm just keeping it a full ass buck. The tears flowing from the Bernard Sanders, the Bernardians, epic, priceless. By the way, shout out to my esteemed brother Travis, also known as Black Dollars University, another tried and true, dedicated, dyed in the wool, angry black sheep and supporter of mine. I appreciate you, fam. Producer, another name that I love to lift up today. Peace, brother, and I'm glad to see you. Yesterday, fam, what we saw was essentially the clarification of a whole lot of narratives that have been people just been riding on. Let's just keep it a full ass buck. Like yesterday was the equivalent of the wave function collapse in quantum mechanics for those nerds of you out there. Okay. Yesterday we saw a bunch of narratives, a bunch of stories go by the wayside. We saw a bunch of narratives that people have been writing comfortably, a bunch of stories they were telling that collapsed right in their faces yesterday. As many of you probably have already been made well aware of, Jim Crow Joe Biden got the wind beneath his wings yesterday. He not only won 9 of the 14 primaries that went on yesterday, but a key one, the state of Texas, 200 and some odd delegates to the Democratic convention. He picked that one up too. Yep. And you had quite a few people who took credit for Joe Biden's stratospheric rise. Negro Jim Clyburn. Yep. Clyburn right now, I won't lie. Out of everything that happened yesterday, the thing that galls me the most is now I'm going to have to see that bastard's smug face standing up there pretending to be a kingmaker. I can't stand Jim Clyburn. Just listening to him talk makes the hairs on my back and my neck stand up. I just cannot stand that fool. But now we're going to have to hear him prattle on about the influence and the pull that he's got, because the exit poll data referenced the fact that in South Carolina, very many of our people chose to engage with Biden on the strength of Negro Jim. That's right. Negro Jim. See, fam, like I said, what we witnessed yesterday was the collapse of a lot of narratives. There have been people who've been talking about the need to primary Negro Jim. I think Jim Clyburn just told you to your face just how uphill a battle you actually are facing if you're thinking you're coming for him. In the immortal words of Omar from The Wire, if you come at the king, you bet not miss. Jim Clyburn showed his natural black ass yesterday in South Carolina. So the narrative that we could just get rid of all of these CBC members, all of these bootlicks, these political bootlicks, that's a narrative that seems to have met its match, that seems to be facing a collapse. I'm not saying it's impossible. What I'm saying is that the narrative that these people will be easy to snatch down politically, you got another thing coming. What other narratives did we see yesterday that collapsed? Well, we saw the narrative yesterday that Bernie you know, bigot Bernie Sanders was just going to be a shoo-in, that the revolution was here. Yeah, we saw that narrative collapse. We saw the narrative that Bernard Sanders, right, the reparations denier himself, was just going to march his way right into the White House, lifted on the wings of the biggest multicultural coalition known to history. Instead, it turned into a goddamn race, turned into a fight, being led by a man who I sometimes wonder is suffering from cognitive issues. I wonder if the man, Jim Crow Joe, I wonder if he's actually legit suffering from from dementia or some sort of cognitive disability. How that must gall Bernard Sanders et alia. There were a whole bunch of narratives that collapsed yesterday. But let's take a look, fam, before I open up the lines, because trust me, I got time. I got the energy. I got the time for it today. We're going to have it out. The lines will be open and all callers will be accepted today. Let's talk about the narratives that we understand now to be the truth of the matter. First of all, the elders, the boomers, have made it clear that for them, better the devil they know than the devil they don't. That's right. Say whatever you will about Joe Biden, because trust me, fam, there is surely no lack of information regarding his record, regarding what he supports, what he's voted for, what he's endorsed, what he's made happen that directly cause harm to Black people. Say what you will about Joe Biden. Our elders feel like they at least understand Joe Biden. And it ain't just our elders, because our elders have influence on the youngers. A lot of the narrative that came out of South Carolina, out of Virginia, and other places in the South is that, hey, I'm not really a big fan of Joe Biden, but I don't really know this Bernard Sanders fool. That was number one. People rather go with the devil that they know than the devil that they don't. Because another narrative that became clear yesterday was that the reason why Biden got the boost that he got was because there was no real outreach from anybody else. Biden will show up in your town, come eat at your restaurants, come sit in your churches listening to your pastor's sermon, come sniff your daughter's hair, right? Come tell you stories of all the crazy, cool, fun, nutty shit he's done. Biden is there in your face. Biden will come and kick it with you. He'll come in and hang out, telling you stories of his friend Corn Pop and so on and so forth, in that little homey engaging way that he's got about himself. Because everybody will tell you that Biden is not a debater, but there's nobody that stumps harder than he does. Biden will show up on the scene, and even if you can't stand him, when he leaves, you at least will be smiling. That old homie charm, you dig? The kind of old Southern paternalistic charm that has you calling everybody sweetheart and buddy. That passion that only comes from being able to ad lib shit. Charisma. Now, Bernard Sanders partisans will tell you, okay, well, charisma's fine, right? Like, charisma, is great. Like, sure, maybe Bernie's not as charming, not as charismatic, but don't they understand the information? Don't they understand the data? Don't they understand what Bernard will do for them? Oh, yeah, they understand it. They just don't believe you. Fam, our brothers and sisters all throughout the South made it clear that they like healthcare just as much as the next folk. College, that sounds all great, fine, and dandy. But they'll be damned if they believe that white folks is gonna let us have that too. Them is not my words, fam. That is not my words. That was paraphrasing direct quotes from brothers and sisters who were asked in those southern states. They were not and are not convinced that all this free gimme shit that Bernard Sanders is promising to everybody is truly going to be made available for us too. Because that would require white folks to do something that they have never, ever, ever done. And that is shared the wealth. Never have they done it. Every movement in this country, every single movement in this country that had a chance to be biracial in nature, right? You could go all the way back in history to Bacon's Rebellion. You can look at the populist movement around the turn of the 20th century. You can look at the New Deal. Every single time when we black folk thought that, hey, maybe this time we'll get to eat some of the fruit too. Poor whites looking for an economic reboot from the largesse of the government have never hesitated to stab us in the fucking back to get their coin. Never. Never. They got the data. They got the message. They just don't believe you. And you know what's really crazy about it? Biden shows up. Bernard sends us Killer Mike. Bernard sends us Nina Turner. His black stand-ins. He won't show his ass up. No, he's too busy, basking in the adoration of the white masses. Those young white folks, the college educated ones. He's too busy basking in their adoration. Chasing after, in the words of Antonio Moore, the ghost of the moderate white voter. Let me shout out John. Let me shout out Brother Monty. Shout out to Sister Joan as well. Welcome to the broadcast, fam. So Bernard never even reached out. But you don't even have to take my word for it. There's an article that I saw that showed James Nigga Jim Clyburn saying that Bernard never sought out his endorsement. Now, that, of course, is not to say that he was right to endorse Jim Crow Joe. No, he wasn't. But we know that Negro Jim is a puppet. All you have to do is stroke his ego and throw him a few trinkets. He can go back to his constituency and show, see how work hard I'm working for you niggas. And you got him. The crazy part about everybody complaining about all these people that are selling out our people, the crazy part about it is you don't understand how cheaply they're being bought. Nobody's cutting these people humongous checks. If Bernard even had half a goddamn hair on his head worth of sense, since 2016, he could have been in our communities, cultivating the relationships with our old tried and true sheepdogs. Because you can say that you hate it, you can say that you love it, but the fact is that very many of our people still don't possess the political astuteness that allows them to think independently politically. That's just factual. Now, we have groups of us that are looking to try to change that. But we'll get there too. Because that was another narrative that came clear yesterday. What became clear yesterday, beyond any type of reasonable doubt, is that there has been no real effective advocacy. And I include myself in on that because I do consider myself an advocate for my people. But yesterday showed clearly the failure of us as advocates to truly reach the people we need to reach. I'm man enough to own that. Our people have had no real advocacy. When push came to shove, the narrative that was pushed by many of us as advocates either didn't reach the people or they heard it, but they just didn't feel it. That's facts. That's facts. Peace, Adrique. Welcome to the broadcast, fam. Menace Aptara is in the chat. Welcome. Salute to you as well. We who claim to be advocates, to speak on behalf of our people, hold a great deal of responsibility. A great deal. I'm going to elucidate for you what I think that responsibility is, because really it's only one thing. The responsibility that we have as voices, as advocates, is to try as best we're able to take your concerns, your worries, your issues seriously. That's truly it. Now, it's more complex than that, but in its most simple place, as an advocate for you, I need to make sure that I take what you express to me seriously. Now, why is that important? Because all too often, what we have seen, especially since yesterday, is we've seen battle lines drawn. Fam, not battle lines drawn with our political enemies, mind you. Right? No hard lines in the sand being drawn against these bastard Democrats, the rotten Republicans. No. What we have seen very recently, and especially since yesterday, is what will ultimately become known as the purge. Everybody's casting about looking for other black people to blame for what happened yesterday. You think I'm kidding? Even in this chat, since I started giving my commentary, there have been people that have blamed the boomers. There have been people that blamed, the sheepdogs like nigga Jim, so on and so forth. And I get it. Trust me, I do. I even tweeted yesterday that I wonder if the olders have figured out that a lot of the bad stuff that's coming is not going to affect them. It's going to affect us, right? So I understand the sentiment. But you have people that are talking about traitors, that are talking about, and John said, collaborators. Black people are looking for other black faces to attack. And in point of fact, fam, that's the last goddamn thing we need to be doing right now. Looking to purge these unsophisticated. I mentioned it. I've seen people refer to our people with the same terms that white supremacists have referred to our people with politically. Sister Money is in the house, by the way. Let me give her a special shout out. Happy hump day to you and welcome to the broadcast at B-Man 120. I see you, fam. What's good? Peace and black power to you. That's right. Alexis hit it on the head. By the way, shout out to my beloved sister, Miss Kawami. Welcome, family. Yeah. Since yesterday, fam, the machetes have been coming out, but they're not being directed at anybody but us. We are eating our own. Casting about for black faces to attack, for some nigga to blame for what happened yesterday on Super Tuesday. But see, fam, I decided to take a different tack because I was taught as a part of my newfound political advocacy to ground myself in the data. And what did we get from yesterday, if not information? What did we get from yesterday, if not more data that requires new analysis, a better understanding, repositioning even? I'm not upset about what happened yesterday. I'm glad about what happened yesterday. Because there were some key bullshit ass narratives that were being thrown around that until there was a time of showing and proving, those narratives were able to just float out there on the ether and be held up as fact. The narrative that we have so much pull with the Democrats. That was a narrative that got blown out of the goddamn water yesterday. The narrative that we have the facts on our side. That didn't matter none yesterday. All of the data that we have available about our position lets us know where we are true. And that data didn't mean shit. It didn't mean nothing. Don't get me wrong. It can explain our advocacy. Because that's something else I've been learning recently, fam. That's something else I've been learning recently. The data is truly important because it can explain why we need to be advocates. But it is the analysis, the story told about that data that determines who becomes advocates. And our narratives have been weighed, have been measured, and have been found wanting. What else did we learn yesterday, fam? What else did we learn yesterday? What new information did we get from Super Tuesday that can allow us to be more effective in what it is that we're doing? Well, one thing we learned yesterday is that the DNC is still a player in this motherfucker. That's right. Buttigieg dropped out. Klobuchar dropped out. Bloomberg dropped out. And to all accounts, they were encouraged to do so by the DNC. And every single one of them gave their votes, their delegates, to Jim Crow Joe. Now I know what you're thinking. Didn't they go hard in the paint at Jim Crow Joe on the debate stage? Of course they did. But see, fam, this is another reason why our narratives that was floating around out there were proven yesterday to be bullshit. Because the narrative as it stood before yesterday was that, hey, regardless of who the candidates are for the primary, the target is Donald Trump. See, that's what they were telling us Negroes, right? We got to vote Trump out. We got to get Trump out. Orange man bad. That's the narrative. Orange man bad. Now, if you got a group of people that get all of their political information from MSNBC, CNN, some from Fox, ABC, CBS, pounding on the same damn drum, orange man bad, for 3 years is going to have some effects, because the media, the mainstream media family, isn't even bothering to hide the fact that it's in the propaganda business. It ain't about journalism and getting you information that you can use so you can be better informed and make decisions on your own. Hell no. The pale stream media is there to tell you what you know in a constant cacophony, over and over and over and over again. So we know the media is going to do whatever the hell they're slated to do. I mean, how can we even say with a straight face, left-wing or right-wing journalist? Like, that should fucking upset you. That you have people that claim to be journalists who, instead of giving you information and letting you form a position, are advocating a position. But no one's outraged by that. Why? Because that's the norm at this point. So for the last 3 years, they've been browbeating into us poor darkies. Orange man bad. Orange man bad. Everything we do, we need to get the orange man out. But you didn't catch who the real target was in all of these Democratic shenanigans. You didn't understand. I'm not going to be as arrogant to say none of you. Some of you may have seen it. But I would argue, from all the gasps and sighs of surprise from yesterday, that many of you did not realize who the actual target of the DNC shenanigans really was. Do you get it now, though? Do you know who the actual target, who the Democrats have been fighting for the last 3 years since 2016? Do you know who the actual target really was now at this point? Have you figured it out? I'll give you the answer. This ain't a pop quiz. The real target was Bernard Sanders. Or did you think that they was just gonna let him run away with it, destroy the corporatocracy, the oligarchy, right? Did you really think that the Democrats was gonna let Bernard Sanders lead a nonviolent revolution to take away money from the rich, to do all this other shit? Did you really think they was just gonna roll over and just go, oh, well, he's got the numbers, I guess we're done? They've worked hard to build this machine over decades. A machine that keeps so many people fed, eating off of you and I. Did you really think they were going to let Bernard Sanders just come in and overturn the apple cart? Did y'all really think that Donald Trump was the target of all this shit? Fam, the DNC would rather wait another 8 years to get an establishment, corporatist, oligarch president back in the office than to let Bernard Sanders run away with it. You have to have known that. You have to have known that. This is why what happened yesterday with Biden getting all the wind beneath their wings, beneath his wings, this wasn't a surprise if you were actually paying attention to who the target was. Think about how Biden benefits the DNC. Huge name recognition. Cognitive decline, so he's malleable. Definitely a party man, right? Make no mistake about it. He's a partisan Democrat. And he can happen to bring in people that Bernard Sanders tends to alienate. And the best part about it is he ain't looking to revolutionize a goddamn thing. Matter of fact, Jim Crow Joe wants to do more of what Obama did. Let him tell it. He wants to be Obama 2.0, except he's not the white man sitting in the back this time. He's the white man sitting up front. Who better to stick it to Bernard Sanders and the Branch Bernidians than Jim Crow Joe? How could you not have seen the machinery at work? The DNC is still a player, fam. If you think that we're going to just have to go up against a particular candidate for our justice claim, if you thought that we would just be taking down Chameleon Harris and Courtney Booker and the Yang Gang and all the rest of them, if you thought we was just having to take them down in order to go after our justice claim, fam, I don't know what to tell you. Because baby Democrats grow up to be big Democrats, and big Democrats are spoon-fed at the trough of the DNC. The DNC was always the big head on the Hydra. You think I'm kidding, fam? Watch what happens when Elizabeth Warren finally drops out of the race and she goes and supports Biden. Oh, or did you thought that her faux progressivism wouldn't let her stab Bernie in the back? Elizabeth Warren right now is still in the race for one purpose only: to act as the dagger that gets shoved in Bernie's back. She's going to be that final blow. Exactly, Alma. She's done it before. Like, how is this a surprise to anybody? Everybody's claiming such political astuteness. And so many people thought that the target of the Democratic Party was Trump. When the target, ever since 2015, ever since the loss of Hillary, was Bernard Sanders. What up, Stakes? I see you, fam. Thank you, Kenneth. She will stab him in the back on GP alone. Quiet as is kept. Wasn't that what that whole little back and forth about? You accused me of being a liar. You know, to kind of set the stage. Oh, yeah. Warren is going to back Biden. Make no mistake about it. Book it. Book this one. I'm predicting it. She's the dagger that Brutus, the DNC, is going to wield to put it right into Bernard's back. Now, never mind the fact that Biden is simply just Trump light. Like, who's going to choose Biden if they like Trump? Nobody. And if you want anything resembling Trump, why not just choose Trump? Who wants a cheap Democratic knockoff when you can get the real thing? So they don't really particularly care if Biden actually will win the general. That wasn't the purpose. That was never the purpose. The purpose was to stop Bernard Sanders from hijacking the party. She ain't going to immediately endorse anybody. But I can guarantee you, she's there to stab Bernard. She's the dagger, fam. That's the facts. You know, fam, I think that we need to understand one important ass thing when it comes to politics. Tulsi's still in is because Tulsi is actually the only Democrat, the only one who actually has principles. That's why she's still in. Tulsi was my initial pick. Other than the fact that she does not support reparations, which makes her a persona non grata for me, Tulsi was my first choice. Tulsi is actually a true believer. That's why she's still in it. She a soldier. She don't know how to fucking give up. But Tulsi's not going to have any effect on Biden or Sanders. That's a fact. She's just in it because she's got principles. Will it be a brokered convention? Truth be told, I don't think so. I don't think so. But if it does become a brokered convention, I can guarantee you that Bernard Sanders ain't gonna get it. I think they're trying to put the hit down before they get to the convention, because a brokered convention is gonna be fucking chaos. There's gonna be riots and shit at a brokered convention. You thought 2015 was bad? Oh no. The Branch Bernidians ain't having it this time. If there's anything even resembling a brokered convention, it's going to be fucking madhouse. It's going to be chaos. That's what the DNC is trying to avoid. So if they can do Bernard in before the convention, all the Branch Bernidians can do is be mad about it. But if they let this shit go on until the convention, it's going to be problematic. It is going to be problematic. And you can best believe that. Fam, what I learned yesterday, besides all of the information I'm sharing with you today, I learned one very important thing. Don't frame this political shit as a war unless you're going to fight it. There's a lot of folk in the political space who talk a real good game. Yeah, I think it'll be over for the Dems too. Biden's definitely not going to defeat Trump. No fucking way. This is never going to happen. There's no world that I can see where Biden defeats Trump. No way, no how. Let me repeat that for you, though, what I just said. Don't frame this as a war unless you're going to fight it. There's a lot of folk. Oh, shalom to my beloved sister August. Hi, I didn't see you coming to the chat, sis. Welcome to the broadcast. There's a lot of folk out here politically who's talking a good game. But like I said, yesterday produced the collapsing of narratives, the collapse of the wave function, bringing into reality only one goddamn thing for a lot of folk yesterday. A lot of illusions were shattered yesterday. A lot of narratives that just had traction for no real reason. There was no evidence to support those stories, those narratives. They dissipated like fog in an early spring sun yesterday. And now they're left with the reality that if you're going to want to do something in this political space, you're going to have to actually fight for it. You're going to have to actually do it. Super Tuesday exposed a lot of folk. There were a lot of folk who was hoping, I think against hope, but who the hell am I, right? Who were hoping that some candidate would come out of nowhere and save their narrative, save their story, that they would come and bring to people an agenda, or that they would come to these people and bring them advocacy. Nope. Nah, I'm here as the angry black sheep to disillusion you today. If you were thinking that these politicians were going to have to come to you and bring you a goddamn thing, please stop. Please stop pushing that narrative. Jim Crow Joe overwhelmingly got our vote and didn't have to promise us a goddamn thing. Adrik is right. SARS-CoV-2, which is actually the name for the virus, right, for the coronavirus, could change the game. I don't think it's likely to, but it could, most definitely. And yeah, Alma, if the economy takes a shit, which the Fed and the Trump administration right now are fighting like crazy to make sure it doesn't happen, the Dems don't want to be left holding the bag. They'll wait till 2024. But Trump is the incumbent. It's hard as fuck to defeat an incumbent. Jim Crow Joe yesterday didn't have to promise black people shit, because no one else promised us anything. No one else really advocated or actually fought for us. And hey, he's a devil that they know. Jim Crow Joe might be the devil, but at least he'll come and have a beer with you. He'll remember the name of your daughter. He'll bring in a shit ton of business to any restaurant that he comes and eats at. A whole lot of illusions got shattered yesterday, fam. Thank you, Sister Alma. The crazy part about it is Jim Crow Joe's hardly spent a damn thing on his campaign. He hasn't had to. He hasn't had to. Oh yeah, family, we learned a lot of data yesterday. We learned a lot of information yesterday. Now we see people like, what's his name, Reverend Barber, talking about, now that Biden's gotten so much support from black people, we need to hear from him what he intends to do for black people. No, you fat bastard. You were supposed to be hearing that shit before any votes were ever cast for Jim Crow Joe. But what the fuck do you expect from a fat pastor pork chop bastard like Barber? He's good for trying to close the gate after the damn horse then got out. Now everybody wants to come up with their ask. Bloomberg spent hundreds of millions. But again, if you understand who the target in the primaries was, that makes perfect sense. Bloomberg came out like a champ. First of all, Bloomberg is still going to be popular, uber popular with the super billionaire set. He's still going to be going to Davos and all the rest of that shit, right? So he ain't lost nothing there. And he spent a few $100 million to ensure that Bernard Sanders will not have anything but the hardest of slogs getting the opportunity to take any of his billions. That was an investment he was willing to make. And all he had to do was take a few harsh words from Donald Trump and look like an ass for a few months. Machiavelli would be proud of Mike Bloomberg. Mike Bloomberg wasn't in this to win this. Mike Bloomberg was in it to make sure Bernard Sanders doesn't win it. And to quote Mike Bloomberg's rampant and eponymous ads, Mike got it done. People fail to understand just how deep the Obama rabbit hole goes amongst black folk, especially our older black folk. Shout out to you, Soul, by the way. Welcome to the broadcast. Brother Avery, I see you, fam. Welcome. That's right. I mean, fam, anybody who was paying attention realized, okay, Bloomberg comes out of nowhere. And he ain't no progressive, so he's not saying anything new. Right? And he's spending his own money, so he don't have to be beholden to anybody except his own agenda. And y'all actually believe that he had an agenda to win it? No. Bloomberg was in it to make sure he put the seal on his investments. Bernard was talking about coming after his billions. You think Bloomberg was gonna let that happen? And all he had to do was spend a few $100 million? And he wins goodwill with the Democratic establishment. He maintains his position among the super billionaire set. Come on, fam. Think. What up, Mike? So before I open up the lines, fam, and let y'all chop, and I appreciate y'all taking the time and giving, being patient with me, right? I just want to say, don't frame this shit as a war if you're not going to fight it. And you fight a war with every tool you have. You don't limit your actions in war. There's an old saying, fam, all's fair in love and war. Deception is a tool of war. Lies, trickery, propaganda, the judicious use of money. All of these are tools in the political sphere because politics ain't nothing but war with paper bullets. So if we as advocates for our people are going to play around in this political space, we had damn well better harden the fuck up, Buttercup. If we're actually going to play political soldiers for our people, then we better damn well be prepared to do the needful. by any means. No options off the table. We don't have the luxury to debating over which strategy. Or should we do this? Should we do no, 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 no. All of it. Or none of it. All of it or none of it. That's what I learned from Super Tuesday yesterday. If I'm going to play in this political space, then there's nothing for me, for my people, that is off the table as an option. No weapon I won't use. No tool I won't pick up. No option I won't exercise. So for those of you who were under the apprehension that our justice claim was just going to be a matter of convincing the Dems of our 56 plus years sunk cost investment in them politically. For those of you who thought that just expounding on the reality of our position in this country with the wealth data and stuff like that was going to be enough, I hope I disabused you of that notion. For those of you who thought that throwing smoke at candidates was political advocacy, I hope yesterday disabused you of that notion. And if you are still in the game, because a lot of people after yesterday just said, fuck it. Quiet as it's kept, fam. A lot of political advocates after yesterday have either signed on for political pogroms against our own people, talking about the boomers need to go and they're enemies of the people and this, that, and the third. They've either signed on for that project, right, for the Get Your Own, the cannibalism project, or they falling back. Hold on a second, family. How are you? It's my mother-in-law. She just showed up, fam. I'm on.
Hi.
So I hope that those notions have been wiped away, fam. Yesterday came like a broom. It swept away all the bullshit narratives, okay? And it left only concrete, clear truth. Information that we can either use for future political advocacy, or for those of us who weren't built for this, for us to fall back. The choice is yours. But whatever you do, don't frame this shit as a war unless you're willing to fight it. Because I can guarantee you that our opponents are willing to fight it every step of the way, using every tool they have available at their arsenal. They don't care. They're not in it for the moral high ground. They're not in it to prove principle or to prove a point. They don't care about your political stance, socialist, capitalist, whatever. They don't care about any of that. There's only one thing that matters to them. That's power. So if you're going to be in this political space, then power for us has to matter to you, or you're in the wrong place. You're doing the wrong thing. Maybe you should, do cat videos or something, or, learn to knit, pick up another hobby. Because after yesterday, those of us who are real political advocates for our people should understand this ain't no motherfucking hobby. This is a war. And I intend to fight it till I can't. Which means I ain't got no smoke for the boomers, the olders. Nope. They just told me what I needed to know. They told me the information I needed to know. This is what we're going to have to do. Stakes is high. Said we're gonna have to win the war by attrition in 1 inch at a time. I couldn't agree more. This was the battle that you supposedly asked for if you're a political advocate for our people. This was the fight that you claimed that you was built for. So now it's time to fight it. No need for pogroms. No need for purging and ideological purification. No. It's time to actually show and prove. No more bullshit story spinning. (425-296-1980) is the number, fam. You know what time it is. Yeah, Alexis, I thought it was too. Turns out, according to some of the things that I've read, that all Bernard had to do was just come out for reparations. Is that all? The man can't even say black without going green around the gills. But a lot of us believe that we could trust him to get reparations done. You know, you should have knew, fam, with Bernard Sanders that there was a trick to it. I'll talk about it. Caller from 860, it's your man Mark Black. What's your name, where you calling from, and what's on your mind?
Hey, what up, Mr. Black? It's me, Ro, man, calling from the check-in from CT. What's up?
What's good, fam? What's good with it? Talk to me, man. What did you think about what went on yesterday? What's your take on it?
I'm gonna say it was bananas. I'm gonna go right up. I'm gonna go with Tom Steyer because you didn't really talk on him as much.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna say that where's our repercussion for people that are talking all this reparation talk and not putting through the fight for us? Like, there's no pushback. There was no nothing for that guy. No smoke for that guy.
Yeah.
And like, I really think we need to really talk about that. Like, you can't have candidates keep running their mouth about reparations and not putting in the work.
Here's the crazy part when it comes to Steyer, fam.
Yeah.
Steyer actually did. I won't reveal the source because I was not given permission to do so. So I wouldn't do that.
No, I know about that. So I know about the source about the ADOS young woman that met up with them, and I know about the agenda and a whole bunch of other things. I'm going off the guys of I'm matching them up with Bloomberg because they both are billionaires.
Yeah.
Where was his money at being dispersed at for this conversation?
Now, that's a good question because I do believe that those people who are saying, well, hey, these guys were billionaires, where was they bread? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
before all this.
You saw how Bloomberg used his bread to manipulate the system and do what he needed to get his job done. I didn't see him do the exact same thing, and that was a red flag for me that I saw that Steyer was not about that talk.
Well, I'll be honest with you though.
I really think that he was probed by the DNC to see how bad the situation might be.
I think Steyer, fam, was really just soapboxing. You see what I'm saying? Like, okay, so whereas Bloomberg actually had an agenda when he came into the race, right? Which has become clear at this point what his agenda is, right? Steyer, like Tulsi, is a true believer. So he came into it with his money to simply soapbox and have his say, which, I mean, if you're a billionaire and you could afford to call it, I guess, right? Now, I agree with you in that Steyer could put his money where his mouth is. If Steyer spent the next 4 years, which I don't think he'll do, right? But if Steyer spent the next 4 years, fam, actually coming into our communities, investing in our communities with his bread, right? And not just investing, but putting ownership, putting capabilities, putting power, real power in black folks' hands, Steyer could then come out in 2024 and he could mop the floor with everybody, without a doubt.
But I don't see him doing that.
No, I don't see him doing it either. But I'm saying that should be an option. See, again, what I learned yesterday is no options off the table. I actually intend to pursue Tom Steyer moving forward, me myself, but I'm also going to try to coordinate with other people to see if we can get Steyer to start thinking in that vein, right? And if we're able to make something crack, because I'm not optimistic, but if we're able to get that crack and think about what a boon that could be, right? So I'm not discounting it. I'm saying I don't see it happening, but it's a route that I have to pursue because
But do you also
it is feasible. It is something that can be done.
also do you like because you molded Bloomberg in a way in that whole conversation in a way that the target was Bernard Sanders? Do you think that Steyer was also a part of that plan in
No.
a bigger scheme because he wants to protect his assets and his money as well?
Nope, not
Like
at
we
all.
can't.
Not at all. As a matter of fact, I would argue against Steyer being a part of it. First of all, you could see on the debate stage itself. I watched every last one of the debates. Steyer truly has a great deal of respect and esteem for Sanders, right? And Steyer is also, for lack of a better way to say it, because I don't know how else to say it, but a kind of a woke billionaire. You know, he's like one of those billionaires that had a near death scare. And so he realized that money ain't the end all be all. And he's legit trying to find something that will actually cement a legacy for him, right? That will actually do something more than just money, right? Steyer never struck me.
Okay.
Yeah,
He wants the things that
he
money
never
can't
struck
buy.
me as that guy, right? I'm not saying he couldn't be, but if he is that guy, dude, he fooled the shit out of me, and I'm hard to fool.
Okay. Now I'm gonna change the speed up to Bernie Sanders
Go
because I
ahead,
want to get
fam.
on him for a while. Okay, it shows to all those Bernie bros out there, whatever's clever. Like at the end of the day, is they ain't gonna win without no black vote, and that was just evident, and that was just proven
Facts.
during Super Tuesday. So like so like any Bernie bro coming up to me with that watered down logic, because they have been coming at me all day, I'm just laughing because they can't do nothing without the black vote. And if him saying no to reparations already put sour taste in everybody's mouth. So like his candidacy is, you might as well say it's almost about to hit wood.
Yeah.
I think it'll hit wood faster than any other ones.
Oh,
Because
dude, we haven't even seen Florida and all those other states yet. They talking about this big push that Bernard Sanders has made among Hispanics. Florida is gonna wake his ass up because those Latinos down in Florida, like the Cubans and shit, they primarily break Republican. They're not.
Oh yeah, and they got to keep in mind different Latinos and what part of the diaspora they're from or whatever's clever like that. Each one don't get along with each other. It's no different from any other tribalism type of situation. So for him to pull that logic, and especially in Florida of all places, where most of them consider themselves Caucasian versus Latino or anything of that nature, it makes you raise an eyebrow. It's again him chasing the ghost of white voters, and it's just not gonna win the race.
It's not
gonna win it.
I mean, Tone's analysis on that was astute. The idea of the Dems continuing to chase the ghosts of white voters was one of the most profound political analyses I've ever heard, to be quite honest. Because that's truly what they've been doing. And now that it's stated, right, now that you hear it and it's out there in the open, it's like patently clear that that's the case, right? You see what I'm saying? So that's not going to help them, right? Putting up Trump light isn't going to help them because the people that would gravitate toward Trump have Trump. Like, why would the hell would they choose a cheap Democratic knockoff of Trump when they can just vote Trump? Like, that makes no sense.
It doesn't make any sense at all. It's like diet Trump. Once you have diet Trump, you can get the real thing. And that was like one of the things that I noticed. Another thing, can you shift over to Tulsi too real quick? I think that Tulsi, they're gonna eventually, she's gonna be somebody's VP because I really think that's gonna be the case.
One could hope.
Or somebody's gonna be looking for.
One could hope. But I'll be honest with you. Like I said, other than the fact that she has not come out for reparations, Tulsi was my pick. When you look at how she maneuvers, what her policy positions are on so many things, I can't see a problem with that woman at all. You feel me?
I want to see But like Bernard, like the thing is that if I don't want to have AOC as his VP. I don't see, um, I don't see any other to combat the Hillary situation. I think that Tulsi will be the logical pick out of that
Yeah.
situation.
Logically,
That
which is why I don't think it's likely she will be picked, right? Because there's too many people that are making big deals behind the scenes. Like, Warren has been promised something, right? Make no mistake about it, right? She didn't stick into this thing this long to get nothing. Warren, say what you will about her, is a damn politician, like par excellence. That woman knows the political sphere. She's been promised something, right? So she gonna get her pound of flesh, right? You could be assured that, with the exception of, say, Yang, Williamson, the kind of no-name folk, all those other folk either already have positions in government or will have positions in government when the Democrats get back into power, right? So Warren is straight, right? The thing is that she's not going to be the pick because she's burned some bridges with people that are now the front runners and stuff like that. Tulsi makes sense, which is why I don't think they're going to do it, because they ain't been doing shit that makes sense anyway, in my opinion. Right? The Dems are basically handing Trump a second term, right? So sense has gone out of the damn window at this point. But yeah, I agree with you. Tulsi would make a damn fine VP pick.
And also, like Biden, I'm just gonna shift over to Biden and his situation. The crazy thing is he didn't kick out a damn dime, it seemed like, for the black community or anything, and he got all those damn votes.
Yep.
And it just shows that these I might be on the opposite end. It just shows that some of these black politicians are a big problem, and I really think that voting them out is going to be a major problem. It's going to be a major way, and I don't think that. I think we're so dug in a hole with that situation. I don't think we can dig ourselves out of it right now.
I hear you, fam. I hear, believe it or not, you're not the only one to express that. The thing is that, like I said, I'm not hopeful. I don't have hope, right? I don't bank on hope, right? We either can do the work and aim for the effects that we want, or we don't. And that's kind of where, yesterday kind of is where the rubber meets the road for black political activism and advocacy. If you're for the establishment, then yesterday was a win for you, right? Van Jones and his ilk and all the rest of them, they're loving what happened yesterday, right? That's fine to them. But if you're actually looking to transform this busted ass situation, that's a fight that we're going to have. We can't pretend anymore that it's just going to be a war of words or rhetoric or whatever. No, we are actually going to have to do some shit.
I agree on you on that one. I just wanted to call you in on the check-in about that, because I was just disappointed Tuesday, but also, like you said, there's a lot of clarity to what's been going on.
Take the clarity, fam.
Finally, the smoke is finally cleared off the battlefield, and we've seen the bodies, who are the bodies that are left behind, and who is still standing. And I'm glad that they removed most of these people off the Democratic ticket.
Man, I'm glad for the erasure of a lot of bullshit ass narratives. Like I said, there was a lot of people who were talking shit that was just able to stand as fact. It was treated as fact. But yesterday cleared away all the detritus. Like you said, it removed the fog of war off of the battlefield. So now the lines, in my opinion, are absolutely clear. There's no more illusions in this shit. We know who's who, what's what, where's what, and so on and so forth. Now, who's going to have the cojones, so to speak, to actually be the advocates that they say they're going to be for us, and who don't? This is where the rubber meets the road.
And also, like Bernard Sanders, moving back to Bernie again, that, I don't see him winning at all. I don't see him winning. And also, scratch all that. I wanted to bring back up all these old candidates. I find this ironic, and Tone brought this up in one of his shows, that he said that it's kind of funny that like the white status quo is these old white guys, and that they're advocating and pushing these guys onto basically a younger generation. And I think that's really, really bad for us. Overall, inadvertently, it's going to inadvertently hurt us in the long run.
You know, there is one thing to consider though, fam. If you look at the turnout yesterday on Super Tuesday, even though our votes, black votes, gave Biden a hell of a boost yesterday, look at the turnout. The numbers were way low. This message of no black agenda, no vote does resonate.
It's resonating.
And people are just refusing to engage the process. Like a lot of people are saying, well, the young folk won't come out and vote. For what? Nobody's answering that question. Nobody, when you say, oh, the young folk, young black folk won't come out and vote. For what? What are you giving them to vote for? We've been telling them for the last year and a half that if they're not putting our needs, our agenda up on the table, then save your time and trouble. Now they're doing it, and it's a problem. Make the shit make sense.
Mm-hmm. And it doesn't make sense. It's just crazy, and it just shows how much money is being funneled into the political atmosphere. And it's to the point it's ridiculous.
It's not even so much about the money, fam, because like you said, like we saw, Jim Crow Joe didn't invest all that much and still was able to get votes. It's not about the money. Well, the thing I took away yesterday is the storytelling, the narratives, right? There were narratives that were wiped away and there were narratives that were brought out. Yesterday was a war of stories. There were certain stories that lost, and there were certain stories that won out, right? For those of us who are in this space, it ain't necessarily about the damn data. The data is important to understand why we need to advocate. But if we're not telling a story that empowers individual black people and give them agency to feel that they can be a part of something bigger, we've lost before we ever even got started.
And that's where ADOS messed up with Tyreek. Tyreek would have been able to formulate the story to get everybody on code with something of that nature.
He's not the only one. He's not the only one, but I agree with you.
But you get what I'm going.
Yeah, I definitely get where you're going with it. I mean, at the end of the day, when you look at the breakout, right, at who it was that actually supported Jim Crow Joe, this older female demographic.
Yeah,
look, we know,
I wanted to get on that.
We know that the older sisters, right, our grandmothers and shit, they don't give a damn about a bunch of information. You can't go to your grandma and convince her of something by saying, no, grandmother, if you take n and you give it, the hypotenuse over the square of the sum of the numbers, grandma ain't trying to hear that.
It's just crazy that black women were not crazy, but it makes logical sense. Due to the fact that I look at it to the earlier days of feminism, this is the same feminism crowd that was around Martin Luther King and all that crap.
Yep. They like a strong man.
That's how I look at the whole situation about those women that were voting in favor, knowing that this man locked up these people, knowing that this man's false policy locked up people, locked up their children, locked up their husbands, locked up everybody else. So it makes me again, if we need to really look at our culture as a whole and really look at like what Malcolm X said, we need to really start looking at our women, really start examining and seeing what's really going on with our women. Because
we have to. I mean, the whole culture piece. If you notice, fam, on a lot of my broadcasts, I talk about culture. Why? Because the cultural narrative that permeates our people drives so much of our actions that it's not even funny. What we saw yesterday was a bunch of black people performing survival calculus. I don't believe Bernard, right? I don't believe him. I don't really know him, and I don't believe him, right? But Biden was in there with Obama and so on and so forth. So, maybe Biden will do something for it, right? They were performing survival calculus in the political sphere. That's part of our culture. Everybody wants to talk about progressive black people. I don't believe there are any progressive black people. We've been through too much shit to be progressive. We're inherently conservative. We're trying to conserve the little shit we got. And so survival calculus is always going to play a role in what it is that we're trying to do. You see what I'm saying? And nobody wants to admit that shit.
And if they really were progressive like that, then they'll be for reparations. If not, then they're not a progressive person. They're not even a progressive individual.
Exactly. Think about
not
this, fam. If our people were truly progressive, you wouldn't have to actually convince them on the need for us to press home this justice claim. We actually have to tell them a story that encourages them to be able to risk enough, because yes, it will be a political risk for them. We have to tell the narrative that encourages them to have the potential to get. Now try that shit on as part of your political advocacy and how that feels. You feel me?
Again, we need to have our storytellers back, because that is the major thing too.
Yep.
But yep. I'm gonna let you go though.
All right, brother. I appreciate you as always, man. Thank you so much for your contribution. First of all, I want to say shout out to Brother Craig. I see you, fam. Let's see here. Who else popped in? Sister Alicia. Hey, sister. I see you. Happy hump day to you. Yeah, survival calculus. I don't know why people trying to act brand new about our people, like they don't know how black people operate. We ain't no risky motherfuckers. Caller from 301, it's your man Mark Black. What's your name, where you calling from, and what's on your mind? Make sure you turn that in your background so that we can get some good audio for the family.
Hello, can you hear me, brother?
I can, brother Elder Richard. What's good, fam? I'm glad to hear from you. Talk to me. What was your take on Super Tuesday yesterday?
Well, I'm gonna start out. You know, I was listening to some documentaries the other day. I'm gonna start out with the musical documentaries I was listening to the other day.
Mm-hmm.
I listened to. I'm gonna answer your question. But I listened to Curtis Mayfield, the documentary that YouTube did on Curtis Mayfield.
I love Curtis Mayfield.
And it just showed our struggles through his music and so forth, how he was able to relate and, to our struggle and how he was able to express it in music.
Yep.
And then I got a brief... I listened briefly to Gil Scott-Heron, and I remember one song from Gil Scott-Heron. He had a song out. He said, you can't depend on nothing from Washington. He said they 400 years overdue.
Yep.
So I, my take from yesterday is that it's the same old. The Democrats, Obama, and the people behind the scenes are really running the show. I don't look at Biden as really running the show. It's the people behind the show, like the Clintons and Obama and all of them old Democrats and so Democrats. They're the one that's running the show. Biden just doesn't have, Biden just doesn't have that depth to me. I just don't foresee him as having that depth. But what I see now, it's the established Democrats. They have decided to put all hands on deck to try and obliterate Bernie Sanders.
Facts.
So it's for the Democrats, but Joe Biden, I remember when I was voting in it had to be when I just came home from the service. It had to be 1972 or something. And I was in line and so forth. And I don't know if it was Muskie or who was running against this. Somebody was running against Nixon. I don't know, but it was quite a while ago. And I was listening to the elders talk in line. I was relatively young then.
Mm-hmm.
But I was listening to the elders talking, and they were saying they didn't see any difference between the Democrat and the Republican. In other words, there was no enthusiasm. There wasn't no fire in the people really to vote. It's just as though when you had Dukakis and all of these Democrats, Dukakis, you can go back to Dukakis. Look at some of the Democrats. You couldn't tell them. You couldn't tell the difference between them and the Republican that was running. So I don't see any transformative policy that's going to take place with Joe Biden. You know, it's the same old,
Absolutely.
and you know, it's just, you know. But one thing I hope that you in the future, you and some of the deep thinkers and some of the real voices of our movement, the ADOS movement, and who are really, you know, strong voices and who can articulate our agenda and what we want. I just pray that y'all begin to take y'all voices on the road.
Yeah, I'm working on it, fam. Know, believe you me, I am. Yeah. Because yesterday, like I said, yesterday eliminated a lot of illusions for a lot of people.
Yeah. I just hope that as Dr. King and Malcolm X, they took their voices on the road across international and so forth. You know, it's good, the platform that ADOS has as far as YouTube, the platform that they're giving. You know, so we can get y'all voices and so forth. But I just hope that people like Shirley who saw you know.
Yeah, shout out to brother T West, man. T West has been on a tear recently, man. I'm telling you that, fam. He's a conservative brother, but T West is on point with his analysis of how this whole thing is going. I swear to you, whew, man.
Yo, yeah, T West has a strong voice. T West has a strong voice.
Afro Synergy News. Shout out to brother T West.
T West has a strong voice. Willie D has a strong voice. You have a strong voice, and you know, I made out. You know, I know our chief spokesman. They have some of their shortcomings, but they have a strong voice that they need to take on the road. I just hope that y'all can begin to collaborate more.
I would love to myself. Like I said, I've made it clear. I will support ADOS to the extent that I'm able. If I disagree, I'm not gonna bite my tongue on their strategies or whatever.
Oh, no,
but at the same token, I back they play 100%. I've encouraged our brothers and sisters who have stated that their strategy is gonna be down ballot. I've supported them. I don't agree with them, and I've made it clear. But I support their efforts. The thing is that support has to be reciprocal. You can't demand my support.
I understand.
Right, but
you know, I was saying that I hope. You know, I didn't say that. I didn't say. I try to be selective. I try to be.
No, I get you, fam. I really do, brother.
I try to be conscious. I try to be conscious of the words that I choose and so forth.
You don't never have to bite your tongue with me, brother Richard. I hear what you don't say.
I hope, but I will continue to, strongly, support all of you in the best way that I can.
Sir. Yes, sir. And that's important.
I know when it comes to the crux of the matter that all of you are advocates for the same thing, for the same justice thing. Although you have your differences, you have this and so forth, but you asked I don't know, you put it in I don't know if it was what you call a question, or what's called in the form of a question,
like a rhetorical question.
Rhetorical question. You said, when the Democrats get back in power? I don't know. I think as far as right now, when might be quite a while.
Yeah, me
for
too.
The Democrats, the way they're going now. I tell you who has a strong voice, and I wish that because he's on board as for he sees the difference in the racial wealth gap, and that's the Reverend Dr. William Barber down in North Carolina. He has a strong voice, you have he's on a poor people's campaign right
I'm
now. You
familiar
know,
with William Barber. Yeah, I spoke
yeah,
on him earlier. I'm not a fan. William
yeah,
Barber for years has been pontificating, but he's including Latinos and everybody else, and this, that, and the third. And
yeah,
only
yeah,
now
yeah.
is he talking about what should be happening and done specifically for Black people. I can't respect that. But at the same token, though, I do recognize that he's a voice. So maybe if we
Okay,
could engage with the brother to get him more, to get him to advocate for us specifically more, I could turn that around. But so far as what I've
but
seen from Reverend Barber, I'm good. Like, that's a hard
but
pass for
but
me.
I'm from Missouri like you, and I was
Hmm.
raised further south than you. I was raised further south. I was born in St. Louis, but I was raised in an agricultural community
Yeah.
called Steyer, Missouri, which is mostly agriculture. But one thing we as adults have to realize, the 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 spirituality and the programming that goes on in the South is still lacking a lot. The type of programming that they get in the South is controlled and so forth that a lot of people down in the Delta and so forth are not aware
Yeah.
of a lot. They haven't been educated and so forth to what's really going on. This is those people those people that possess the power in the South. They control the programming through the media and everything.
Hmm.
It's very limited and so forth. That's the reason I hope that y'all can begin to go on the road, because it's a lot of our people, like Dr. King says, a lot of our people who haven't ever seen a doctor or a dentist,
Yep.
So to realize the extreme the condition that we're in, but the programming in the South is I've gone home when I used to go home on more regular and so forth, and people the attitude or the spirit of the people in the South when they talked about politics and so forth, you got a total different perspective
Yeah.
than what you would get in the North and so forth. So we have to be aware of that. But I just hope y'all can begin to take your show on the road. But keep up the good work, my
Thank you,
brother.
brother. I appreciate you as always, elder brother. You know I love you, and thank you for the encouragement and the support always.
And I keep in tune and everything. And peace, my brother.
Peace, brother. Peace. The Elder Richard. Thank you, brother Elder, for your word. Let's see here. We got caller from 909. It's your man Mark Black. What's your name? Where you calling from? And what's on your mind?
This is Texas. I call from California.
Hey, peace, brother. Peace, man. What's the good word? What's your take on Super Tuesday?
It's not surprising. See, what people don't understand about Joe Biden is he's not particularly smart. He's not particularly well spoken. He's not intelligent. But what he's good at is relationships.
Mm-hmm.
And hey, I trust this guy. I know this guy.
Yes.
70% of it. That's 70% of it. It's not about policy. It's about, hey, this guy can get something done. It's like you said, survival economics, survival calculus, survival politics.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely. I mean, think about this, fam.
Black folks don't understand, because politics is about exchanging and triangulation and, hey, who can you talk to? Can you talk to this person? Can you get this done for me over here? That's what the genesis of politics is. It's not about, ideology. Ideology is a very small part of it.
And Biden's done shit to us. Now, I'm not discounting a damn thing that Jim Crow Joe has done to us. But one thing you can say about Biden for sure is that Biden's got connections across both sides of that aisle. He got Republicans that he ride with that will ride with him till the wheels fall off. He got Dems that'll ride with him till the wheels fall off. And that shit has a value. It has importance.
Right.
And not to mention the fact that everybody wants to talk about Obama being popular. Sure, Obama was popular, right? But what a lot of people didn't see during Obama's reign of terror was that a lot of times they would go places. He would bring Joe. Obama would give the policy speech, you know, with them high-flung cadences and this, that, and the third, right? And then he'd fall back and let Joe kvetch and confab with the crowd.
Right.
And Joe would kill the game. Like people who came
and Joe,
there
if people don't understand, Joe delivered Pennsylvania. Obama's whole idea was to bring those racist whites along that Joe could. That's how Obama won.
Thank you.
He was able to bring Pennsylvania. He's able to get your Pennsylvania, your Michigan, your Wisconsin. He can get those type of states.
Yep.
And that's his value. So if I'm a Southern Carolinian or Carolinian, I'm like, okay, well, you know, I like reparations, but okay, Verdi, what's your angle? Okay, Marianne Williamson, what's your angle? Okay, Steyer, how you gonna get them for us? I mean, I like what you're saying. It's a good idea, but what's your angle? Who do you know? Who can you talk to? How can you get it done?
Yep.
And when you started to answer those questions, you're like, okay, yeah, I mean, well, you know, I'm thinking I might do this. You think, and people are like, oh, okay.
Fam,
that's when
Tom
Steyer gets exposed.
You don't even know how true what you saying is right now, fam, because it's crazy. Okay, so Marianne Williamson lowballed the shit out of us, first of all, right? So she slit her own throat right out the motherfucking gate. 200 to $500 billion. Bitch, please, right? Like, there was no way that black people was going for that, right? So then you had Steyer. Now, Steyer, truth be told, was just not in it long enough because, like I said, I saw internal evidence from his group, right? From his campaign staff, right? Where that council on race that everybody was talking about, oh, it's not specific to us. Yes, it was. It was actually specifically for us. Like he was coming out with some shit that had he had been in it even 2 months earlier would have been a sea change. Yeah. He just wasn't in it long enough. He didn't push it hard enough. He didn't have the connections. But there were things that Steyer was looking to do. But like you said, when the black people came to him and was like, okay, it sounds good. What it do? Right? And he was like, right? They start stuttering and shit. And black folk are like, wait a minute, man. I mean, you want us to throw our political capital at you, but you ain't got no plan.
And it's like, yeah, it's like with Bernie. Okay. See, the thing about it is with Bernie, if he wins the past reparations, he at least has the angle. It's like he can thread the needle. Whereas, you know, he just doesn't want to.
Facts. Now that's the thing that killed Bernie.
Steyer had no chance.
That's the thing that killed Bernie.
Has political capital to thread the needle to get reparations.
That's right. Bernie could put together a plan. We know that. He got a plan for every motherfucking thing. He's throwing money. He's throwing trillions. You see, this is the thing that kills me with these Branch Bernidians, fam. They got the nerve to tell us that asking for reparations is divisive and politically unfeasible. Bernie's whole motherfucking
None of the shit he has is feasible. None of this shit is feasible that he has.
Right. Like so Bernie's whole platform.
Yeah, this whole platform is unfeasible. So, okay, make it feasible. That's what a politician does. A politician, you have to sell your ideas. You know what I mean? Hey, you know, I got this idea. You know, who's buying? How can I make you buy it?
That nigga's crazy. That reparations is divisive. Medicare for all has divided the shit out of this country. Do you understand me? Like, there's no position this fool holds that isn't divisive. That he's not going to have to throw trillions of dollars at. But our justice claim is politically unpopular, unfeasible. Are you mad? Like, that's what slit his throat. It wasn't that he couldn't get it done. He never promised to do it.
Right. Free college, free medical. It's like, whoa. You know what I mean? And I'm not going to raise that. It's just like, it's just it's like you said. It's like Joe Biden said. He said it, pie in the sky, and he capitalized on it. Yeah, it's like he didn't make it like he doesn't actually understand. Okay, how do I sell my idea? That's what Bernie doesn't get. He's more of an ideologue. Like he doesn't sell his ideas to people. And say, okay, this is how I'm going to do this.
Yep, absolutely.
And but that's why he's struggling because people really are like, okay.
And Biden's telling everybody, I've worked with, leaders across the world. I've worked across both parts of the aisle. I know there's things that you won't, wink, wink, and I can get them done. He ain't promised you shit, but he don't have to. Because you trust that he'll figure it out. Black folk, we're not stupid. Like I got so sick and tired yesterday of people trying to say our brothers and sisters in the South was low IQ, low information.
No, not at all.
No, they wasn't. What they were pragmatic, which is something that in this goddamn campaign has been few and far between. Black folk threw cold water on the Branch Bernidians. They said, whoa, pause. All that shit sound good, but we've heard it all before, and somehow or another that don't seem to make it to us. So unless you come in with something specific for us to ensure that we got buy-in, nah, we'll take our chances on the dude that at least will come and eat with us and talk to us and, come in and chop with us every so often.
If they're gonna, it's gonna be like, okay, how can we might be able to survive some things, Joe Biden. We're just on a text of let's just survive Joe Biden, and we'll reevaluate this another 4 years. That's what black folks South Carolina are on.
That's exactly what they own. That is exactly what they own. They're like, okay, we know Joe Biden. Sure, he's a damn devil, right? But we know him, right? He might do us some dirt, but we survived worse than him. We'll survive him till we get a chance to get something from somebody that's actually gonna give us something.
Right, and that's the actual idea of politics. You playing. It's like not about ideology. People just keep saying this. Well, how do you vote for? It ain't about ideology. Joe Biden's not gonna promise it. He never said he was. He just said, hey, you know what? I can beat this guy. You know what I mean? I can get some things done. Vote for me.
Yeah.
Sounds, close enough.
Because remember, we've been told the whole 3 years since 2016's election, Orange Man bad, right? So we can't look to the Orange Man because any black face that heads in that direction is automatically outcasted from the people, right? So we can't look to Orange Man.
He played on that beautifully. He played on that like to a T.
Yep.
That was his play, and he was smart with it. Even though, because like you said, it don't mean shit. I mean, it don't mean nothing. But he played on that to a T.
Absolutely.
He played that card to a T.
Like I said, nothing about yesterday was surprising, fam. If you understand this political space we in, if you understand the nature of our people and how the survival calculus that we consistently have to play, right? You could see this coming.
Right. And Bernie has an angle, but he doesn't want to take it. Like he doesn't there's this road to the White House, but he'd rather not take it. It's rather, he doesn't want to go down that black road to the White House.
I'm gonna tell you the truth. He's not as revolutionary as he's trying to portray himself. Like they're trying to make it. Right, Bernie Sanders is playing a dangerous game, in my humble opinion. Because he's using the language of revolution, right? The rhetoric of revolution. But he's not really that damn. If you really think about it, fam, none of what Bernard Sanders proposed is all that radical. Like, it's not like there aren't countries on the planet that don't already operate in that way, right? So it's not necessarily, beyond the pale or just absolutely crazy, right? But that language of revolution has a real sneaky way of getting away from the people that use it, right? And my concern is that when Bernard Sanders finally gets that dagger to the back that we know he's going to get, what's going to happen with the Berntards, right? With the Branch Bernidians, the true believers who are thinking that this is a revolution? That's a question everybody's scared of asking.
To be honest with you, I think they're going to try to encourage him to form his own party, or they're going to take over the Green Party. That's what I think. That's what I think. I think he should have done last time.
If we're lucky, that's what he will do. The problem is that what happens if we're not lucky? What happens if they say forget the whole political thing? Like, because if you look at the Branch Bernidians today on social media, fam, you want to talk about dejection. You want to talk about like despondency. Man, I'm surprised. Like, everybody who's a true dyed-in-the-wool Berntard needs to be on suicide watch right now. Seriously, they need wellness checks because they're losing their shit. And the 201, all of them are putting the blame where it belongs, right? Truth be told, they're putting the blame on the DNC. What happens when they stop playing the political game? That's a question.
I would say, I would say half and half. I would say you have Bernie Sanders supporters who are honestly like, yeah, they're the types that will say, okay, our fellow, pundits or whatever, they'll say, you need to do better with black people, but that's about it. They don't really push him to do anything. They just say, yeah, he can do better on that. And there's the ones that he said that are full-fledged, Berntards.
Yep.
But it's half and half. You know what I mean? Because they are the black folks who, prefer just the class-based policies, and they're like, yeah, he could do better on that. And they're kind of milquetoast, they're mild Bernie supporters, and you have.
I love even the black Bernie supporters. They pragmatic too. They like, man, look, I would love reparations, but right now I could use some health care for my kid, or even they are doing survival calculus. You know what I'm saying? They just happen to be doing it in a slightly different way.
You're right.
Yeah.
They're more around the, because I think Bernie is the black supporters are more around the what is it? You have your student loan forgiveness and your medical.
Yeah.
And that's their hook.
That's it. That's got them. I watched the sister that was a hardcore ADOS advocate, right? This sister was on point, on fire, right? On social media. And I watched her fall back, and she started supporting Sanders. And so I hit her up, and I'm like, sis, where you at, man? You know what I'm saying? Like, is this the move? You going out for Bernie the bigot? She's like, my son is sick. He's real bad sick.
Right.
And I need that health care. I can't afford to be standing on principle, on ideology. And as much as it made me sick, I couldn't do nothing but respect it. Because I know what it's like to have to make those survival choices.
And Bernie, in a politician, you think the difference between Joe and Bernie is Joe navigates those things. He navigates different competing sectors. Bernie does it. He's just like, this is my ideology. Fuck y'all. This is what I want.
Yep.
If you either with it or you ain't. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Joe navigates the political sphere as best as probably even better than Obama does.
I would agree. Far better. Why do you think Obama chose him?
Right.
Obama knew where his weaknesses was. Obama's a policy wonk. He's an intellectual. He's a goddamn academic. He don't really understand how the real world work. He chose Jim Crow Joe because Jim Crow Joe know how to navigate the spaces he don't.
Right. So, and that's another thing. Bernie probably can pick, if he comes with somebody who can fill those, crevices and cracks that he can't. You know what I mean? There's a role for Bernie to win. It's just does he want to take it or not? You know what I mean? If he wants to win, he can.
Even at this point,
but does he want to?
Even at this point, right? He could still win it. But the problem is that the cost for him would be astronomical. Essentially, he would have to rewind nearly 4 to 6 years of campaigning. And in what, 7? No, not
3,
even
4
that.
months?
6 months? Try to reshape an entire narrative that I'm not certain he can do.
Right.
I can see him. It can happen. I'm just not certain if he can do it, if he will do it. Like,
if the will is there, I think the will isn't there to do that. He's just an old. Hey, I'm stuck in this. I'm gonna ride this till the wheels fall off.
Yeah, that's the
problem. You can
problem.
see it when he interviews. Like he gets upset when people challenge him.
That's
like,
the problem with ideology, fam. When new information comes in, instead of your actions, driving your ideology, if you let your ideology drive your actions, you can't change.
Right.
And that's another thing that I've learned throughout this political season is that we can't keep saying the same narratives and watching the results come in with no effect and not change the narratives. Like if we're telling these stories of, just to give an example, right? And this is no shade or disrespect to my ADOS brothers and sisters, but their narrative seems to be that our individual efforts are useless, right? That no matter what you try, that no matter what angles you try to take, without a collective political, push, you're just sunk. That we've got no hope in hell of doing anything or accomplishing anything individually. Now, I get why they're telling that narrative, right? Because they're trying to get you to see your collective interests. Trust me, I understand it intellectually. The problem with that narrative is that it disempowers individual people. If I don't feel that I have personally any agency, right, any autonomy, any capability to do anything, then I also then lack the capability to do anything with you. That doesn't change. Like my lack of agency, my lack of capability or capacity doesn't magically grow just because I come and not do nothing with you. You see what I'm saying? Right? Like, so.
No, correct, yeah.
Yeah, so to keep pushing
it's just
that
two individuals
narrative,
that are powerless. That's it.
Right. To keep pushing that narrative as if anybody who tries anything, to better their personal, right, is bootstrapperism, it's do-for-selferism, it's aspirational. To keep pushing that narrative at this point is just toxic. First of all, the data doesn't suggest that we're completely flat broke. That's supposed to happen somewhere around 2053, right? So we have some means to do things, right? Great. We're not nowhere near what our white counterparts can do, but we can do some things on our own, right? Not to mention the fact that you don't build strong groups with weak individuals, right? Why do you think militaries put everybody through boot camp and everybody has to pass? Because every unit needs every individual to be capable. They can't afford to have any weakness in the unit because a unit can only be as strong as its weakest individual. If you disempower individual effort and you bring those people together, you didn't create a strong group. What you've done is you brought a bunch of weak people together, and as soon as a strike comes in, they're blown apart. They're atomized.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? And that's, if there's one thing I could communicate to my ADOS brothers and sisters, is that stop diminishing individual effort in order to try to buttress your group effort. You're not helping the group effort by doing that. You're not.
Because the group effort is based on an agenda. It's not based on what I individually want or what you individually. It's just based on, okay, if we're going to get reparations, I don't care how you get it. I don't care if it's the narrative of, we're flat broke, if it's the narrative that we're born out of control, if it's the narrative we need economics, if it's the narrative we need politics, if it's the narrative that we need education. I don't care what the narrative is. The agenda is reparations. Whoever is moving towards that agenda
is on the team.
Great, I support you.
Exactly.
It's on the team. It's not about this. you have to fit into my narrative.
Fam, that's the easiest. Like I told you, this narrative of our lineage having the primacy of place and the justice claim is the easiest politics we've ever actually had. This is the easiest shit we could ever do. But the problem is that as soon as you start trying to introduce a story that one size fits all, it's not going to happen.
Exactly.
Look, unity does not require unanimity. I don't need to agree with everything Yvette and Antonio says in order to back their play, right? Or in order for them to back mine. But as long as they're trying to make this an ideology, then we have no other choice but to separate and try to do other shit, which dissipates our collective efforts and reduces and blunts our efficiency across the board.
Right. It's like, and if you notice, the media kind of played on that. They kind of like making Yvette and Tone, oh, these are the founders, these are the people. It's them. It's about them. You see what I'm saying? Instead of saying, hey, this lineage, they keep referring to it as them. They like having them because they can just kind of single it to, well, they're just part of this. This is just these group over here. It's not necessarily about a lineage. It's about these groups of people saying this, and it's about this group right here. It's not about, okay, this lineage of people that come from this bloodline and this classification have a certain economic interest, certain political interest, certain environmental interests. They have their own interests based on their lineage, not necessarily based on a group or a founding or a leader. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's about a classification of people who have their own interests. We have to take them seriously as a group, not about as a couple of leaders or, well, we're going to interview this leader and see what she said. They can thwart that very easily.
They have thwarted it, fam. Look at it. Ever since there's been this push to create this story of we're absolutely humped unless government does something for us, how effective has that actually been? Like, yesterday should have evaporated a lot of illusions as far as ADOS thinking about what political sway they have as well, right? When I looked at what was coming out of South Carolina, I realized pretty damn quickly, I'm like, wow, had we had the actual impetus, the momentum as ADOS that we thought we had, what was coming out of South Carolina would not have been.
Exactly.
So either we're not having the effect that we think we are, or we're having an effect and it's working against us. Those are the only two conclusions you can come at this thing with. If you're ADOS right now, and you look at what happened during Super Tuesday yesterday, the only conclusions you can come to is either we're having very little, if any, effect where we need to be having it, or we're having an effect that isn't helping us. I don't see how you can come to any other conclusion. Now, there are people that have been saying, well, we've only started this thing, just recently, and ADOS is new and all of that. And those are valid statements, right?
Hold on. Let me correct that. A lineage isn't new.
No. I'm talking about the hashtag movement, right? Because you're right.
Okay, but
the lineage isn't new.
See, that's the thing. See, and to them, that's the way they want to frame it. You see what I'm saying?
Agreed.
If you keep it in that arena, oh yeah, I don't have to worry about it. That's just a little hashtag movement. Whatever.
Yeah.
No big deal. Moving along.
Like I said,
you know what I mean?
The smartest thing that Yvette and Tone did, fam. I'm sorry, go ahead.
There's so many hashtag movements. There'll be another one tomorrow.
Yeah, there'll be another
one tomorrow.
Don't worry
about it.
The greatest weapon she brought us, the greatest weapon that her and Antonio brought us was this framing around lineage, right? That is the thing that ultimately gives us the capability to do everything it is that we need to do. That was the one thing that we were lacking. And nobody that has come across that framing has failed to give them credit for that, right? No one, not me, not nobody, right? Anybody who's learned or embrace that
even
ethic.
Tariq, even he said, it was
exactly.
a great,
Right?
Even
But
Tariq
here's the thing. At that point, the narratives that they're continuing to tell linked up to our heritage disempowers individuals. And the problem with that is as I stated before, you cannot build a strong group with weak individuals. Either you encourage as best you're able our individual efforts while encouraging us to bring our collective individual efforts to this greater effort of supporting and backing our justice claim in the name of our ancestors based off of our lineage. You either do that or you're spinning your wheels. And why that isn't what's being discussed is beyond me. I just don't get it. They have the weapon. They have the tool. The one weapon that unites us all, right? The angry black sheep is made up of people of different religions, different sexual preferences and orientations, different socioeconomic classes. But what unites us all is the idea that justice in the name of our ancestors and ourselves is due, that it is based off of our lineage, and we will have our justice. We will have our due, or it will be held until the captain. That's what unites all the angry black sheep. How hard was that?
Right. Very simple. Anyway, good show.
Thank you, fam. I appreciate it.
To the family.
I will.
I'm gonna continue to let the other callers get on and rock, and I'm gonna continue listening to you.
All right, I appreciate you, fam. Thank you very much. Great call, fam. I mean, see, I hope that people understand I am not against ADOS. I'm rooting for ADOS. But the narratives that are being pushed by the people that are advocates, that are the ADOS founders and the advocates, are problematic and they deserve critique. Telling people that they're a fucking threat to our people's justice claim simply because they try to open a business or they try to start a PAC or they try to do something for themselves does not create a strong push for our collective gain. And if we do come together under those auspices, all that's going to happen is the first adversity that comes is going to blow us apart. Caller from 903, it's your man, Mark Black. What's your name, where you calling from, and what's on your mind? Hey, I guess brother hung up there. I think that was Black Man from 903. Call back, fam. There we go. Caller from 903, it's your man, Mark Black. What's your name, where you calling from, and what's on your mind?
Yes, sir. Black Man 903.
Black Man 903. I knew it was you, fam. Holla at us.
Well, I worked the polls for early election and yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
And I was shocked, I guess, about a lot of the rules of what we got to do.
Yeah.
And, even when I was brought some lunch, they told me that you can't go out there to get the lunch. You have to stay in here, let them drop the lunch off to you, and then you go get the lunch.
What?
The people that the people that you know in your community, like, if I say, hey, Mark Black, hey, how's it going? Coming to vote today? I can't do that. I got to say, hello, sir, how you doing today? Come in to vote, please. Do this, that, and the third, whatever the thing is. And a lot of people were asking me, like, why are you talking to me like that? You know me. Yeah, but I can't act like I know you. You can call me by my name, right? Because I have a name tag on and all that, right?
Right.
But so far as noticing you, I can't do that.
Wait, so you were working the polls yesterday, fam?
Yeah, yesterday in the early. I told y'all
okay.
I'm out there. I'm doing.
Got you. No, I got you.
Serious.
I got you.
Yeah,
okay.
I'm serious.
So wait a minute now. So working the polls, did you notice any particular, for lack of a better way to call it, any particular fuckery that went on? Because there were reports out of Texas that a lot of people were struggling to be able to actually cast their ballots in the primary yesterday. Give us your take on that.
All right. So for us, you have to have your precinct, right? You have a precinct that you have to vote from, right? And if you don't come to the right precinct, we have to turn you away.
What?
That's not voter suppression. Yeah. So if you're in a precinct, right?
Yeah.
We have a precinct, let's say 5-1.
Right.
You got a precinct of 5-2 and 5-3, right? If you're only taking 5-1 precinct, you have to only take 5-1 precinct. You can't take 5-1 and 5-2 because, believe it or not, every ballot is different. Whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, every ballot is different. So the people who are getting a ballot for Democrats in 5-3 were different from people who are getting ballots in 5-1.
What's the difference between the ballots, fam?
Oh my gosh! I wish I would have brought it with me. I would have told you. I'll tell you right now. If you look at ballot, okay, this was the biggest ballot for us, right?
Mm-hmm.
For the biggest question, I'll sit there and say that the biggest question for us was proposal. You have a lot of proposals on your ballots, right?
Yeah.
It's not just about the people; it's also about your proposals.
Yeah.
So we had a proposal that sit there and said, should somebody be able to change the gender of their child by 3 years old? Like, why is that on the ballot? But it was a question. Like, what are you talking about? Can you change their sex? Can you change their anatomy from 3 years old and turn them into something that you want to be? Should you have that right to do that? Should Mark Black be able to change his child, like Dwayne Wade and them, obviously, to that gender? So if that kid says at 10, hey, I want to be a girl by 12, should you be making that decision?
Right.
That was one of them. Another one was that, do you want to have a gun-free and gun violence-free America? Of course you don't want violence upon you, but if I have to bring it, I want to be able to bring it. You know?
Right.
It's not saying that I don't want to have guns, but it was a lot of
So it was like questions, like questionnaires on your ballots.
Oh yeah. Oh, I'll tell you what. I'll do this for you. If I can go back and get those ballots, because I want to talk about this last week, right?
Right.
When I was first in there, you didn't have a good show. You weren't feeling that great. Fine, but I had wanted to talk about it then because there's a lot of stuff in there that people were looking at the words. Like I told them, hey, before you come here to vote, and you stand at the poll for a longer amount of time than you want to be, look at it before you walk in, because you have a line, right?
Yeah.
We have the ballots for you beforehand. So look at your ballot, look what's going on, and make sure you make an informed decision before you go in. And understand what they're saying. And people were asking, like, I didn't know this was on there. I didn't know this was on there. And people were looking on their phones, and you can't have your phone on in there. And they were taking time to sit down and read because they didn't know about all these different proposals and stuff.
Now, I have a question for you, brother. Are you required to answer those questions on the ballot? Like, is there a rule or a law?
No. It's the same thing. You can skip any question you want to.
Oh,
you don't have to answer anything you don't want to. But my thing was that it was a lot of people had no idea about what was on the ballot. Should we be building a wall? Should we be building barriers? Should we be doing what do they call it, prayer in school?
And what's interesting too, fam, is that because it's on the ballot, it almost has the imprimatur of the government. So people will automatically feel like they have to answer the question in order for it to be a proper ballot. That's messed up.
But we try. Right. But we tried to make sure that you understood. Hey, if there's something that you don't feel comfortable with answering, please don't answer it. Because if you're not informed enough on that issue, just leave it alone and wait till November to get caught up, because they're all going to be on the ballot in November, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you'll be able to pick Dem, Republican, and Independent, right? Because a lot of people will, my stuff's not on here, but you can still come back in November and still be able to progress on to that when it's time.
Black man, were these propositions because Alma said that these were Democratic Party ballot propositions. These were only on the primary ballots for the Dems, I'm assuming. Is that correct?
No, sir. No, ma'am. It was on both sides. what I told you about the chemical castrations and all that kind of transgender stuff
Yeah.
was on a Republican side. All the stuff about gun stuff was on the Democrat side. Living in do you want to have, the wording was really, really awkward. And that's why a lot of people were asking.
Gotcha.
I'm not playing with you. I swear to y'all.
No, I believe you, fam.
A lot of slower voters, I'm not saying what they were, slower voters were having so many problems reading what was being fed out to them in the ballot because they didn't understand. What does that mean? Because they were just using double, what do you call it? Double non-conjures? Ain't that the word?
Did double speak.
Double speak. And they were saying, do you want a gun-free America? I mean, a violence-free America? Yeah, but I still want to have my gun. It was just like, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
The whole thing. I could bring so many. I should have brought them. I really should have brought them, but
it's all good, fam. It's all good.
Yeah. So, but even though I worked the polls, it was great. I learned a whole lot about the process. We had to put out people for voting, or not have voting, but putting on shirts for parties that we couldn't even accept in. You had a hat on, we couldn't accept in. I was shocked. But then when you have like, okay, so you're sitting there saying you can't have this person in, but the guy who is you want to keep it all simple, right? So I just want everybody to just wear a flat shirt, nothing on it, right?
Right.
Black, blue, gray shirt, whatever the case might be. If you have a certain company that I know or a certain organization that you know, and they have a big N at the beginning and a simple R or A at the end, you know who they are. We shouldn't let them in no more than you should let somebody who has Bernie Sanders people in. I want everybody to just have a flat shirt. I think that's wrong. You learn a lot when you go through it because you see so many people that you think you know, you don't know. If you punch okay, so they have it on an iPad, right? Where you vote on an iPad, right?
Right.
I mean, not vote, but register in it on an iPad, right?
Mm-hmm.
The thing about the iPad is that the parties are so far separate, you can see who votes Dem and who votes Republican. And I was like, dang, are you serious? You're a Dem? I'm like, wow, are you serious? You're a Republican? It was just that far in you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That you could tell who is voting where. And you know these people. You see them in your community because I'm from a small town. We only got 5,000
Yeah, of
people.
course. Not to mention the fact that if you go over to the Republican side to cast the ballot, that kind of makes it clear what you voting on or what you voting for. Yeah, that's cray.
Right, but again, you have so before you even come in the door, we tell you we have a Democrat side over here for ballots, to pre-look at, and the Republican side for you to look at, and pick up your ballots. And we just ran out, pure and simple. Normally, the R's.
Mm-hmm.
No different way to say about it.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, that's fine.
It is.
Yeah, but that's for my part. That's not the center telling me what Seattle's going to do, Washington's going to do, California, New York, nobody else. I'm just saying for my city and my town, I'm just telling you my experience of what I performed and what I did. All right, for the early voting, I was there for 2 days. For today or Super Tuesday, I was there as well.
Let me ask you a question, brother. What do you attribute Biden's win of Texas on? I mean, you're in Texas, and I know that. What do you attribute the win for Biden on the Democratic side of the House in Texas to? What was did you get a sense of how brothers and sisters was thinking when they was coming in there?
I thought for my own self, the whole thing of the socialism thing and the Fidel Castro thing. From my part, that's just from my point of view.
Yeah,
I think that played a very, very big part. I really do. I think that the other part that was, what's that guy's name? The railroad commissioner guy who wants to, Beto. I think Beto messed up in Texas anyways, because a lot of us are still Democrats and Republicans, but we still hunt together.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
That's Texas.
And when you talk about so when you talk about getting rid of guns, you're like, whoa. What are we talking about here? We talk about the Alamo all the time. You talk about, this, that, and the third. And the people, hold on, just make sure we understand this too. The people that come from California, New York City, to come to Texas and Austin or Dallas
yep.
or Houston, they're not really representative of people who have been here for a long period of time, generations of people who have been here for a long period of time. In other words, we've known this kid for 20 years.
Yeah.
Plus, right? We've known their family. Like I said, we had a guy come in there, and his grandfather's on the wall of mayors, right? And his great-great-grandfather was the mayor of our town at one time, and he's still here. Well, don't you think him still being here gives him certain privileges because who his great forefather was?
Right.
Yes, it does. Yeah. But when somebody comes here from California, like, what are you doing here? You don't belong here. You're trying to tell us what we should be doing? No. Either you come in here and get on with the program or you leave. But you come in here doing all this fisticuffs about, well, we don't do this in California. Well, go back there then.
Yeah, that's true as hell. I mean, we've seen elements of it even up here in the Pacific Northwest. A lot of people moved from California up here to Seattle during the tech boom. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
And I can remember a time, because I've lived in this area for decades now, and I can remember a time even, in Seattle. Seattle's not a small city, but even as you approach Seattle, you could be driving on the highway and not see a car in front of you or one behind you.
Right.
At night. You know what I'm saying? It was just that quiet. Man, after the Californians moved up here, man, the traffic jams up here are insane. Yep. The people are rude as fuck. Like, it's a sea change. That's for damn sure. And of course, Western Washington has been blue anyway, but now it's deep blue. Like, trust me, my vote, whatever if it's not for a Democrat in November, ain't gonna count for shit.
Right, and I get you on that point. I don't want to discourage anyone. All right, I've seen plenty of people vote Dem. Not sitting there saying it at all. All I'm sitting there saying is that when they did it, I was just shocked about when they did it or who was doing it when like that. Because I don't know if you're doing it because Trump said do it or because that's the way you really feel about doing it. Yeah. I met a lot of people who are using their passports to vote, who are using their seat or your carry and conceal to vote, who were using their they were using different forms of ID to vote, right?
Mm-hmm.
The easiest form of ID you can have is your driver's license, period. All right?
Yeah.
If you use a passport, that's fine. But the only thing about a passport is you have to tap in your name, date of birth, and all that kind of stuff. But if you just put up your driver's license is no joke. It says everything about you, who you are, what you are, everything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It makes the line go faster because we don't want to frustrate any voter out there. We want everybody to move in quick. But when we told people, hey, you're at the wrong polling station, they got mad. You just don't want me to vote. You just don't like my shirt. You don't want me to vote. No, we really can't let you in with that kind of a shirt on. Even if you have Black Lives Matter shirt on, we can't let you in. A Confederate flag, we can't let you in.
Yep.
Bernie bro, we can't let you in. We have to that's why I say just stay blank. When you go in there, don't tell anybody anything because people were talking about stuff in line. You can't say that. It was weird.
No, I hear you. I mean, so in other words, in your opinion, just because I did ask you yours, in your opinion, it wasn't so much about voter shenanigans as it was people just didn't understand the rules and would come in there fucking up and then.
Right. It was never a thing. Like I said there and said, our thing was to let make sure everybody had the opportunity to vote. If you were change of residence, right, we have a COR, you call it, right, change of residence, right?
Mm-hmm.
So even if you have moved, so Mark, like you said, you made a move earlier this year, right? You moved in apartment 1A to 1D, right? Mark, even though you made that change from 1A to 1D, you're still voting. We're gonna still let you vote, and when you're done voting, please go to the table. So in November, we don't have the problem with you not being able. Well, we don't have the same problem with you. We want to have you registered. We want to have you marked. We want to know who you are, where you are as a voter. It doesn't come up, when we scan your license. It only comes up with voter information. It doesn't come up with a record of tickets and like the police.
Absolutely. No, it comes up with their registration, their voter registration.
Right, but I would joke with people that I knew and say, "Oh, you got a warrant out here at Hunt County." Oh, what are you talking about? just play with some people that I knew. You weren't supposed to do that.
I would thank you, fam. I'd be like, look, I'm gonna go take care of
that. Yeah. So, but I was talking early on the program in the chat. It was really a great time. I had fun. I enjoyed myself. I learned a lot by being active. But I told y'all before, this is not just this is a start for me in terms of running for school council. And running further along. This is just to get my face out there and sit there and say, hey, I seen this black dude. I seen you before. I remember you from the polls, because a lot of people sit there and say that. I remember you from Booster Club. I remember you from my son's games as being a coach. I remember you from this, that, and the other.
Build that resume, fam.
I know you.
Build that resume.
That's what I'm trying to do. But for me, y'all know I'm 50. I hope that somebody in their 20s, their 30s, who are listening to this show will start doing it now. Because it's kind of late for me. It's probably kind of late for me to run for mayor and all that kind of stuff. But I still really want to run for school board. I really do. And I hope by doing these missions, like I said, in November, and Super Tuesday and the pre-ballot beforehand and Booster Club, that people see who I am, where I am. They know me. Hey, I see your face. I know who you are. I was funny. I was, attractive. I was doing the thing.
That's my man.
So I hope that brings me up a whole lot more. So that's what I want to say tonight.
Hey, man, I appreciate you, fam.
Yeah. I'm telling you, I'm trying. I'm trying my
best. That's what I'm talking about.
That much, but I'm still there.
That's my man.
Really am. I promise y'all. All right,
brother. Hey, man, you too, man. Peace. Wow, fam. See, now let me ask y'all something real quick. Okay? This brother has made it clear where his advocacy lies. It's with his people. He's looking to get involved in that process. He's going through the thing, right? Building his resume, putting his face out there, putting in the work. Tell me what political narrative that we have right now that can support that brother if he needed. The narrative that says that we, damn nearly at zero wealth. We can't organize anything politically that involve money because niggas. So we just gonna all have to throw our pennies at him and hope that we can get that brother doing something. Or a different narrative. If you learned nothing yesterday, fam, for Super Tuesday, because I'm about to wrap this up. But if you learned nothing yesterday, I hope you learned the power of what I've been talking about for the last, how many weeks now? The power of a story. Jim Crow Joe is Jim Crow Joe to us who are informed about his policies, his methods, his procedures, and so on and so forth, right? But when Jim Crow Joe is standing in your face, hugging your kid, sitting down, eating a plate of greens and cornbread and fried chicken at your restaurant, telling you the 1000th story about the time he went swimming with a bunch of little black kids, being homey, being personable, all that information shit goes out of the window. If we don't have a narrative that lets people see past the smoke and mirrors of a Jim Crow Joe, then we don't deserve to call ourselves political advocates. Simple as that. If we have not and are not consistently working to tell a story that empowers our people to feel agency instead of fear, to take risk instead of playing the survival calculus, then why be surprised when we get the political results we get? Why should you be shocked? That's all I wanted to say on it, fam. Great calls tonight. I hope that y'all learned something, right? Our family told you better the devil they know. There was no real outreach by the Bernard Sanders campaign, by most campaigns to our people, but they know Jim Crow Joe. Has been zero pretty much advocacy, right? And I take my role in that. Like I said, I blamed me first. I have not been effective as an advocate. Oh, I'm going to work to change that shit, believe you me. But our people haven't seen no real advocacy that they feel that they can trust, that they can glom onto, that they can back, taking political risks and not playing the survival calculus game. We learned that the DNC ain't going to just roll over, that Clyburn and Alia ain't just going to roll over, that they have their own power systems, their own institutions, their own pool. Clyburn is still an effective sheepdog. And depending on how the election turns out in November, could claim the mantle of kingmaker. So we need to stop framing this shit as a war, family, unless we're actually going to fight it. Which means that we need to leave all options on the table. We need to grab every weapon, use every tool to be the most effective advocates we can be. To tell a different story, to change the narrative. If we're not doing that, fuck your surprise. Your surprise at what happened yesterday don't matter. If you took what happened yesterday and you're all dejected, and you're all sick and sad and messed up behind it, you didn't get the message. You wasn't built for this. Yesterday was good information. It was good data that we need so that we can be better advocates, so we can be better proponents for our justice claims, so we can fight twice as hard, so we can change the game up and not be bound by ideology and dead narratives that we know are no longer true. So family, with that, I want to thank all of you for your time. I want to thank everybody for the support, Maiden Dave for the super chat. I want to thank the brother that gave via PayPal. I appreciate you. If you didn't give nothing, but you gave me your time and your attention, I appreciate that too. Hopefully you gained something from this broadcast. That's what I always aim to do, is to bring you something that helps you, that brings solutions. Be on the lookout for the broadcast Saturday, fam. And as usual, as always, I want to leave you all with wishes of love, peace, prosperity, and power. Real power to our people.